What's up, Pops? So I think I found an absolutely great channel, Post Stroke. They are a non-profit founded by Elise Newland, an occupational therapist, after her grandmother had a mini stroke and received less than stellar care. I think YouTube's algorithm is working and starting to serve me up some better content aligned with my searches. But this video here, the most common mistakes I see in a stroke, is one that I wanted to
Harmless?
highlight, highlight some key things. So
Think
hold on
again.
one second. Where's that?
Think fake
Uh,
cosmetics are tested and safe?
let's.
Think
What's
fake
going on
cosmetics are
here?
tested and safe? Tested and safe? Think think again. Think buying think buying fake think buying fake
Why?
products is harmless?
Okay,
Think
let's
again.
go ahead and just go. I'm not starting over. I subscribed, so I will go to Post Stroke and
Here are the worst and most common mistakes I see therapists making when treating stroke survivors. But before we jump in,
why can't I get back to the video that I was watching? Is there a
here are the worst and most common mistakes I see therapists making when treating stroke survivors. But before we jump
right
in,
video?
make sure you support the channel however you can. Give this video a like, subscribe, become a channel member by clicking the join
I'm
button,
wondering if
or
I
give
should
us a
start
super
over, but
thanks
I'm
by
not
clicking
going
in the
to.
YouTube
Okay.
bar below. All right, let's get it.
So 1 year myth. This I liked.
Mistake number 1, pushing the 1-year recovery myth. Unfortunately, there is this myth that stroke recovery stops after 1 year, and it continues to be perpetuated. In fact, I made an entire video dedicated to it that really explores why it happens and why it still continues to be perpetuated. But this is simply not true. And I know this based on anecdotal evidence as well as evidence that is now coming out in the literature. I have worked with stroke survivors whose stroke recovery continues 5 years, 10 years, 20 years out of their stroke.
So 20 years would be remarkable. That'd put you at 104. Um, what I did highlight here was let's see here, 115, which talks about the neuroplasticity of the brain.
What we understand about the way the brain works is that over the course of our lives, our brain is constantly making neuroplastic changes. It is adapting, creating new pathways, or remaking pathways. What we understand specifically about stroke recovery is that after that injury happens to the brain has this heightened state of neuroplasticity in that first 3 to 6 months. So while neuroplasticity never stops, and that's why we can crush down that 1 year stroke recovery myth, we do want to capitalize on that heightened state of neuroplasticity.
That was interesting to me. Capitalizing on that heightened state in that 3 to 6 month period.
What does this have to do with compensatory strategies? Well, in those early stages of stroke recovery, we absolutely want to focus on remediation strategies, helping to correct those underlying impairments.
And the video touches on perhaps like physical impairments. And in this case, as I first went through it, I thought about the focus on speech therapy. Um, she goes over only treating the physical issues, which I thought was pretty important. But like, what really hit home for me was at the 3 minute mark, because this one gets me. I mean, communication for us, I think, is, I don't know, maybe our love language. We love to talk. So I can imagine what I would feel like personally if there was something that occurred that put me in a state similar to yours right now. And staying positive mentally, easier said than done. But I like that she brings this up here.
Of not looking at mental health. Having a stroke is an incredibly traumatic event in your life. You've been through this life-threatening event. You maybe didn't know if you were going to live, and now you've got, all of these other things going on that are going to change your life. It's a very
Of course, 2 weeks later, you're at a clam chowder cook-off, but I digress.
traumatic thing to go through. So addressing mental health, anxiety, depression, panic, fear, all of those things that may come along with having a stroke is incredibly important. Not forgetting
So, like, that's obvious. I mean, just giving yourself to the uh, the grace to feel however you're feeling. Some days are going to be better than others. That's totally fine. Um, Stake four, I queued up at 4 minutes and 38 seconds.
in the discharge process is a therapist will say, okay, I'm going to recommend this next level of care. And they say, you're appropriate to go to outpatient therapy or maybe get home health therapy. But I think what therapists fail to realize is often you don't get that next level of care, or you only get a certain amount of visits that's really not going to be helpful for you. What would be ideal is that
And that caught my ear just because being in a position where I sold pharmaceuticals and was part of that medical drug supply, I definitely feel like there are aspects to insurance and profits over patients that either lead to a higher or lower quality of care at times, and that's unavoidable. Um, the other thing that made me think of was just like the distance between the first appointment set and second appointment set. Obviously, that there seems to be a focus on taking advantage of heightened neuroplasticity during the first 3 to 6 months post stroke. And what she says about kind of like the type of potential therapist you might look at, I think it's at like the 653 mark.
not true. This often happens because the brain kind of just gets in a pattern, in a habit, in a routine. Maybe you've been doing the same exercises for a long time. Maybe you've been seeing the same therapist for a long time who's been running you through very similar treatments. You really need to shake your brain up. Try new exercises, try new activities.
Forgot, I wrote this clip down because I talked to Lois the other day, and she mentioned that Ben started to do puzzles. At first, they're 8-piece puzzle, then 16-piece puzzles. By the time I met him, I thought he was just really into puzzles, which was not my favorite activity. I mean, he'd have like 1,000-piece puzzles where the top half was entirely sky. He would just sit there and work on these things. But when she brought that up, and I saw this in the video, um, there are ways to, I think, generate different parts of your brain doing activities that you don't often do. And that was something that Lois brought up, that post stroke, like he was doing 8-piece puzzles. When I met him, completely different. But I wonder if it was a suggestion or a from like a medical provider, or just just an opportunity to kind of rewire the brain. But I thought that part was interesting. All right. That being said, 707, shake up your brain. And that holds true, I think, to exercises. I know when I work out after a certain period of time, I get tired of just doing the same exercises. So you might have to shake up like the walk treadmill that you have to something that maybe is a little bit different. Um, Sin 19 is where I want to close this out.
Their patients just like a number. Mistake number 10, providing cookie cutter treatment. This is when a therapist provides the exact same treatment and often similar goals to what they set for everybody else. That's just simply not correct. What should be happening is you should be getting an individualized approach. A therapist should be looking at your specific situation, getting to know what you are like, what's important to you, what your home looks like, what your home life looks like, the support that you have, looking at every aspect of who you are, what's in your life, what is meaningful to you, and then creating a treatment plan and goals around those things.
That part I also thought is something that would be very advantageous to look into. Fact of the matter is, there's probably some focus items and some specialists that may or may not be 100% covered by insurance, but it's an investment in yourself. And considering that most of the information that I am taking in right now is specific to, I don't know, there's just patterns in the recovery that I see, and I think there's definitely an advantage that you may have to divest some of that income